Hey everyone. So what I want to show you today is a result of some customer feedback on the install of the HydrosPlus system, and I think it's a really good technique that's a little different than what I showed in my install video. Now, a little history. When I originally started this, I'm going to kind of orient you here. This is the original flow divider, and I've already taken this off. Uh-oh, I have to pick that up. But you know, you have this tube in here. This is the original feed tube. So I've already taken this out, okay? And originally, this is a 1/2-inch O-ring face seal fitting. And this is what comes on the tractor because it connects to that original feed tube, comes up through here and goes back to the pump. What I was doing at the time, because I wasn't sure of the different hydraulic fittings, is I was having you take this off and exchange it for a 3/8 fitting. That way, from my flow divider, which is a 3/8 fitting, up to using a 3/8 tube, up to here, you would connect with a 3/8 fitting, which is what this is here. So this is 3/8, that goes over to the implement tube. And because of that, there's actually the manifold, PTO manifold switch or solenoid underneath here. Because I had you changing this out, you had to take this off so that you could get the manifold off, and then you could spin this off and put a new fitting on. Now, whenever I went to make a change to the tube so that you could take a 3/8 tube like that and connect it to a 1/2-inch fitting like this, so you no longer had to take this off. I never rethought through the process of, hey, wait a minute, you can probably get away with not taking the original PTO it's called a PTO manifold in the booklet, but it's essentially a flow divider. You could get away with not taking it off. I never really reconsidered that. And then as I started shipping these out to customers were like, hey, I did this, the install was awesome, it was easy. And by the way, I never even took the original flow divider off. I was like, oh, wow. And so I hadn't looked at it because I hadn't taken my tractor back to stock in a while, so I didn't look at it. And the reason I didn't do it originally is because right here, you can't get in there. Like if you got a little stubby socket, you could probably get in there, but a person with average tools is not gonna get in there. But I've had a number of people say that they did it that way. So I was like, oh, okay. That's awesome, but I didn't have a chance to kind of look at it for myself. Well, I had to take it back to stock for some heat testing, and in the course of doing that, I decided to try to do it without removing this. And so what I did was, now these have a nut on the back side, so I don't have it in right now, but essentially this is 13 millimeter. Take that out, there's a nut on the back side of that comes off, and then there's a nut on the back side of this. So these have their own nut. I dropped the other one. And so you'll have to get something on the back side of that and catch it. Now these have blind nuts. So I'll take this off, which I wish those had blind nuts, but they don't. And essentially this is holding this fender up, so you may have to move that fender just a little bit when you go to put them back together. But you take these 13 millimeter nuts off once you get to this point. And then also take this 13 millimeter nut off. This holds the fender cover. Actually, it holds a gas tank on as well, or fuel tank. No gas, hopefully. So this is like the ones that are on the front where it has the spacer here. So you take that off, and what that lets you do is scoot this over enough. You don't have to try to pull it off. All you really need to do is scoot it over. And now with average tools, now keep in mind, mine has been off recently, so you are probably not going to have as easy a time as I just did to do that. And when you do this for yourself the very first time, when you put that on there, take a hammer, tap it down, make sure you're good, make sure you're square, and then, you know, start pulling it off. So you'll take this valve out, which is part of the kit, or part of the process. You'll take this plug it up, and then you'll also, tools handy, take off this 3/4 13/16. Come on. Go ahead and show you this since it's fairly quick. Usually quicker than this. Okay, here we go. Keep the finger tight. So right, loosen that out. Take this off. Your other plug that comes in the kit. Put that on. I'll go ahead and tighten those up in just a minute. But all that to say, I wanted to show that here today because that's going to save a whole lot of time if you don't have to take this off. The other advantage of it is if you don't have a vise, by having this connected to the tractor, you can get better leverage. Now, do keep in mind, make sure that you get your socket. And I say in some of the other videos that you need a thin wall socket. You don't need a thin wall socket. But you need a regular socket and not an impact socket. So this is the socket I'm using. That's a typical 6-point. 6 points ideal, but you can do it with whatever you have. Just make sure, and it'll just fit into that recessed area. Make sure it's put all the way down there. And you'll be good to go. So I'm gonna add this as a supplement. This will be a separate video, but it'll also be a supplement. Put a card in the install video so you can click on it easily. Hope this was helpful, and thanks to those who reported this as something that they did. It's going to save everybody a lot of time.